I believe Halo Infinite as a whole is what we choose to do after we fail. The first new mainline entry in over 6 years. Has it made its grand return? Or did it simply fail? I put in over 150 matches into multiplayer, played the campaign through on Heroic and put 15 hours worth of just various venturings on Zeta Halo. And with all the long-awaited stuff about this game and the controversies surrounding it, I wanted to think, what is a kind of theme to this? Instead of it just being a straight review, what's the theme? It's failure. No, that's not what the game is, hold on. 343 for one, they haven't really made a Halo-like game that in the public's eye that really captures that Halo magic that made it into legendary status in the first place. Then there's elements within the campaign itself that has characters really dealing with mistakes they've made and how they choose to press on after they've made them. This is gonna be a review about the aftermath of failure, what we choose to do with it. This is their story. This is my review. This is Halo Infinite. Finally! And no, I won't be going into specific spoilers. That'll be saved for a separate spoiler talk, and just want to hit first the campaign and then talk a bit about the multiplayer and then kind of how it all meshes together. So let's dive into the campaign. Basically, I was going into this really hoping for a fantastic Halo game, obviously, but the blend of Halo 1 and 4, that emotional punch of Halo 4, but with that art style and tone of the original Halo and that mystery venture it has, and I have to say, it didn't really disappoint on that front, for me personally. You find yourself on another adventure on a Halo ring for the first time in many years as Spartan 117, aka the Master Chief. He is still that silent protagonist that we know him as, but I'll get into that more later, how his character has changed a lot, but he finds himself kind of paired up with another sort of Cortana-like AI and a pilot that just wants to go home, and you're trying to stop the Banished on this ring that they have claimed. The art direction of this game is just it. It's just it. Like, 343 really nailed what looks like Halo and what feels like Halo in so many different ways. But just the Foreigners, for instance, the Foreigners, you're going to see a lot of Foreigner level design, which I'll get to in a moment, but it just looks gorgeous. And this is even without ray tracing on. I can't even imagine how nice the Foreigner stuff is gonna look when ray tracing is enabled. Just the overall art direction. This is not a game that's meant to be the best graphics of all time or anything like that. It's more so about the gameplay and just the art direction that is Halo, that makes it feel like Halo, that makes Halo stand out as its own entity. Not to mention actually feeling like you're in an authentic world, the AIs. There is so much different dialogue and behaviors that these AIs do. I'm not saying it's on the level of something like Red Dead Redemption 2, but the grunts, for instance, they have so much banter to offer you that is absolutely hilarious. And the Marines, you know, they'll have their back and forths, like just load up with the Marines because that's a lot of fun. But even just the behaviors, like there's hunters in this game, and the strat with hunters, these big behemoth, you know, enemies, you're supposed to get behind them, but they very rarely give me that opportunity. They're basically mini bosses. And when enemies see you zooming in with a scope, they see that glint from your rifle and will go to cover. I'm like, that annoys me, but I can't help but appreciate that you're doing that right now. The dialogue and behavior in the game just makes it all feel like it's a genuine world. I will fight for this game. I mean, we'll see what the rest of 2022 has, but I am rooting for this game for sound design next year. It is phenomenal. We're finally in that Halo sandbox of just a bunch of different gear to use that feels they all have their own unique uses and nothing is just garbage. And in campaign, the sound design that they do to make all these weapons sound nice is phenomenal. And I honestly could just study to the atmosphere that this game does. Thank you for knocking it out of the park with the music in this game. The music in Halo Infinite is hands down the best we have gotten since probably Reach ODST. Maybe, I might even argue a bit better than those at times. Like, the music is so mysterious, hopeful, and just enough. That's the thing, it's just enough to make, you know, a situation atmospheric and epic at the same time. I'm just very much impressed with what 343 managed to accomplish with this game in its open world. If it's not open world, it's basically like a giant play box to nail the awesome gameplay that Halo has.
Like, yeah, it's not the most like beautiful game out of everything on the market, but it's huge. It's honestly massive. I did a stream just doing a small part of the map, and then that was like only maybe a 1/12 of what everything has. And there's just beautiful trees, a bunch of mountains. It's definitely Pacific Northwest, and it is all just that. I hope there will be more in the future that they add to it, but for now, I just had a blast roaming around it. The grapple hook is the star of this game. It really is. The grapple hook lets you traverse this world with no hesitation. Like, just go up a mountain. In the past, you know, you would never have been able to go up there before unless you're doing some weird grenade jump maneuvers. But now you can. You can just scale walls with the grapple hook. You can get around in battles. If your shields are out and need to instantly get to cover, you can do that. And just the various equipment you get in this game, and you can upgrade the equipment as well, which is something that's unique to the campaign, but they do that because they want you to have motivation to go around this world, that you can find Spartan cores to upgrade yourself, take out enemy bases, find new bases for you to fast travel to. Lots of stuff that you could find. It's like the first time in many years I've actually felt motivated to kind of explore a world since, I'd say, Red Dead Redemption 2. I'm just happy to have a world to explore that might reward me for doing so, that is in Halo. But let's hit that theme of failure though. The story, the characters. I want to be able to talk about this portion without speaking about the Banished, because they are the main enemy you face in this game. The Banished just kick ass. They are an awesome enemy. They have so many diverse things to make every encounter feel different, between the skimmers flying around, the grunts just being nice support. The jackals, man, the jackals, they have a new way of kind of holding their shield up and shooting over it that just, you're gonna try to figure out some ways that could really help you out with dealing with certain kinds of enemies that you're probably gonna have to figure out how to do if you want to beat this on Legendary. Damn it.
But the Banished themselves, they establish it right away. These are some guys that are just done bowing to people. They are free, and they are essentially like the most brutal group of space pirates you've ever seen, and Eshram is their leader. He does a lot to taunt you throughout the game, and I did like him as a villain. He wasn't the best, but I just like the presence of the Banished as a whole. They could have been fleshed out a bit more. The real star of the show is our trio, being Chief, Cortana, and this pilot. Because instantly we kind of have a dynamic I'm sure is gonna annoy a lot of people, because the pilot just wants to get the hell away from here. The Banished won, and this dude just wants to go home and get out of here, the pilot. But Chief's the exact worst person he could have been paired up with to do that, because Chief just, you know, he wants to go in. Chief in this game is exactly what I wanted. He's toned down to that Chief that only needs to talk when he needs to, but he definitely feels everything that's happened in the previous games, and that really is there. Then there's Cortuna. That's what I call her. It's actually the weapon, but I like to call her Cortuna because she's Cortana too. But Chief has good reasons to have very, let's say, short conversations with her because he's Chief. She brings a lot to the table in that element and has this kind of new, naive, like fresh-born Cortana feel to her. She's funny. She's kind of discovering stuff for the first time, and she's not quite at that, you know, sassy state that Cortana was because she's been around for a while. This is just like a fresh one, newborn, trying to be very formal and optimistic. But these three characters and other beats in the story really have this feeling that they have failed. They have done things that they are not proud of. You can feel that. You can feel it. They're all three, even Chief, you know, they're affected by the loss that they suffered, what they did in that moment. And now what are they choosing to do afterwards? Like, how are they going to continue going on after their big failures? The story surrounding these characters was honestly really freaking nice. Like, I personally got a little bit tired of how repetitive some dungeons went. There's basically kind of campaign missions that you do in this game. They're fun, they're fine, but there's a lot of rinse and repeat stuff that happens. You're gonna start to see routine whenever there's a locked door. I was disappointed even at one point in the campaign, Cortuna just says like, oh, I need some data to do this thing. And I was like, okay, oh, we have to do that? Like, there is a lot of fluff in terms of keeping the story going. But when the story goes down, they have that Halo 4 punch, and I really freaking appreciate that. There's clearly, without getting into it, there's just clearly more that they want to do with this game. And there are a lot of things that make me feel like this is what Halo 4 maybe should have been, the kickoff to a new saga. And that's my concern. Because the base game was so good, yeah, there was fluff, and I wanted more biomes, but maybe that's what they intend to save for the future. I don't know, but it just definitely feels like there's more that 343 wants to do here, and I don't know how I feel about that. Also, there's no replays. As I'm recording this anyways, there's no replaying missions, and that is a bummer for anybody that wants to experience dope-ass boss fights. By the way, I haven't talked about that, but there's awesome boss fights in this game. I was worried at first about how they would be, but they truly kick ass. I really enjoyed them. There was never one that I disliked, and there's one in particular that's probably my favorite moment in the whole game, and I can't replay it. I can't replay that fight with that character, and that bugs me, and I can't go back to certain levels to get certain achievements because I have to start the entire campaign over to do so, and that is genuinely bad. Honestly, this is the best campaign 343 has done, no question. There is the fluff and there's no replay, but it is just phenomenal in terms of feeling like a giant just Halo toy box for you to go nuts in, and I'm honestly wanting to go back to it now as I record this. Let's talk about the multiplayer for a second, even though I have talked about it before, because the multiplayer is just freaking fun. Like, it keeps bringing me back those awesome gameplay elements that do feel like Halo. It is jarring though to go from the campaign to the multiplayer because you don't have all the equipment that you accumulated and upgraded in the campaign and continuously use over and over. But the multiplayer is still a lot of freaking fun. And yes, there is some concerns I have about it, but not enough to just stop me from playing it. First off, it's super accessible. You know, you have your first free-to-play multiplayer. It's across a bunch of different platforms. There's a bunch of different languages for it. And you have Academy, where you could just straight up do a tutorial mission if you're completely new to Halo, and then they have a firing range for you to practice using the weapons and to get better at them, and then there's just straight up training with bots. Like, they really did a good job making anybody feel like they could jump into Halo and play it. And then you got the maps that actually aren't symmetrical and built for sweaty Betty times like Halo 5. They're just genuinely interesting maps that feel like, you know, there's a story here, or where is this? And it's just a Halo place, you know? Something new to this game that I freaking love is the intro cinematics where you see your Spartans just doing a pose and then the camera zooms in once the match starts. Like, they freaking nailed the feel of this game. All these choices, like getting rid of the overheating on turrets and having every player start off with the same exact loadout instead of like other games where you have a customized loadout. Having everybody have to scramble to get these power weapons and even equipment on the map that, yes, you're accustomed to having in the campaign, but having to fight over that equipment in multiplayer just adds so much more, you know, sense of thrill to the chaos. And just like in campaign, there's such cool vehicles and weapons to operate. I get very excited seeing a Banshee up in the air because I want a freaking grapple shot to it and jack it. And so much other chaos. Big team battle. Big team battle is now 12v12. And there are times where I'm literally just like, this is absolute chaos. They somehow managed to structure this game in a way that the gameplay is not quite bending the wheel in terms of innovation, but it is creating a lot of fun scenarios that I feel you could only get in Halo. Plus new additions like having an AI that helps narrate, you know, what you're doing and highlighting objectives and stuff. Dynamic maps that kind of react to whenever a flag gets captured, an air cannon shoots off, or having rooms that you can unlock for like a weapon cache. They just did such a good job of making every match or battle in Halo multiplayer genuinely feel like it is in Halo canon happening. And the problem with that, kind of just like the campaign, is I have so much fun with it, I want more, and there just isn't. At launch for this game, there wasn't really much playlist to do. There wasn't Infection, there wasn't Free-for-All, there wasn't just a regular Slayer, there wasn't a lot of different game types that could just add a lot more engaging stuff to do. They rather just made it into 3 playlists, which was really really lame. The core gameplay is rock solid, but they just didn't have enough to bounce around between. And the cosmetic and progression, man, that's the biggest loud thing that the Halo community is speaking out about right now, which deservedly so, because the cosmetics in this free-to-play game is atrocious. Yes, you could change a lot of stuff on your Spartan to make your person feel super unique, but unfortunately, you can't really unlock any of it unless you put money into the game, which luckily that's just cosmetic. It's not holding out on some gameplay elements, but still, it's something that Halo fans like me aren't used to. 343 is listening. They are adding playlists, or they already added playlists by the time this video goes up. They're going to work on the progression and cosmetics. I truly believe that. But at launch, this is the game we have, and I still find myself keep getting dragged back into it because the core gameplay loop is fun. The maps are awesome. The campaign is a blast to just freaking explore. I'm looking forward to doing, legendary and taking my time doing some other stuff and just exploring the ring. Halo's back. I know you might not like hearing me say that, but it is. Halo hasn't had that prestige that it's had in a long time, and it's had its core community, but this is finally the time that we're seeing new players able to jump in and have fun with it, and it feeling like Halo again. And then even hard fans, they have that spark that they haven't had from Halo in a long time. Just as Chief in this game had his regrets and feels that he's failed in some ways and he wants to atone for them, 343 had to do the same with the overall package that is Halo Infinite. And while it's clearly not all there at launch, like co-op forge, firefight, and just, the playlist and other smaller stuff, the foundation is there for the next few years to make a Halo game that has incredibly diverse gameplay, great overall production design and music, and keeps me coming back with just how much fun it is. The biggest issue of this game is me wanting more, but not in the sense of it lacking what will make it good. It's more so lacking in the sense that I'm just eager. I just want more because of how much fun it is and how good the foundation is, and I need more. Honestly, if it was all there, this game would probably be a masterpiece in my mind. At some point, this is going to be the Halo game that fans dreamed of, because this is it. Finally, after all these years, this is Halo, and we're just getting started.
I have my answer.
100 likes or comments on this video would help out a great ton to stand out amongst the hundreds, maybe thousands of reviews for this game that are out. So I would really appreciate if you enjoyed it. If you could leave one of those for me to spark the conversation in the comments, and stay tuned for a spoiler talk, as I have that coming. And remember to be geek, be proud, be awesome.